For part C of this problem, we're asked to propose a plan of our own and compare our plan with those in part A and B and discuss its comparative merits. Well, let's take a look here. We have seen that if we use a level strategy, we would spend $885,000 in this staffing problem. If we use a chase strategy, we'll spend $673,000. The downside of the level strategy is we have a lot of undertime. People standing around doing nothing. And the chase strategy, we have to fire a lot of people in Q4. So maybe there's a way to use a hybrid, a combination of the two, that would end up being less expensive in the long run and not have the downside of having to fire so many people or have so much undertime. So let's begin with the chase strategy. While demand is increasing, a chase strategy works without upsetting anyone. So let's add enough workers to accomplish what we need to accomplish on regular time for Q1. Now you know that we're starting with 11 workers as it says in the problem, but for Q1 we need 6,000 hours of labor. 6,000 divided by 500 hours per worker, we need a workforce of size 12. Therefore, we're going to have to hire one person. There will be no layoffs and no overtime. All the work, the 6,000 hours, will be done on regular time by these 12 people. Then, for quarter 2, we need 12,000 hours of labor. So once again, we can increase the workforce size up to, let's see, this is going to take twice as many workers, so 24,000. We're going to have to hire 12. So now we have 24 workers, and they're able to do this 12,000 hours of labor on regular time. Now for the next one, 19,000. How many workers should we add here? Well, we need to add the minimum because we have available to us overtime also. So in quarter 3, what do we need? We need, from chapter 14 in problem 2, we read Bob Carlton's golf camp estimates the following workforce requirements for its services over the next 2 years. So here we have 8 quarters worth of data. Each certified instructor puts in 480 hours per quarter, regular time, and can work an additional 120 hours overtime. Regular time wages and benefits cost Carlton $7,200 per employee per quarter. For regular time, worked up to 480 hours with an overtime cost of $20 an hour. Unused regular time for certified workers is paid at $15 per hour. There is no cost for unused overtime capacity. The cost of hiring, training, and certifying a new employee is $10,000, and layoff costs are $4,000 per employee. Currently, 8 employees work in this capacity. First, part A, we need to find a workforce plan using the level strategy that allows for no delay in service. It should rely on overtime and the minimum amount of undertime necessary. What is the total cost of this plan? All right, let's look at our data here. If we're going to do a level strategy, we need to plan for the worst case. So with respect to demand, looks like the highest demand happens here in Q2, second quarter. If that's the case, then that's what we need to plan for. As each employee can work 600 hours per quarter, and the 600 hours, where's that come from? That comes from the 480 hours of regular time and 120 hours of overtime. So if I have everybody work all the regular time they can and all the overtime they can, I can get 600 hours per employee out of my workforce. So the level workforce that covers these requirements and minimizes undertime is going to be, let's see, let's divide 6,400 by 600. That gives me 10.67. So in other words, let's call that 11. So 11 is going to be the number that I need. How many do I start out with? Looks like we have 8 employees working on the job. Alright, so with those numbers, let's figure out our costs here. We're going to have, let's see, regular time. We're going to have overtime. And we're going to have some hiring costs. Regular wages. Let's see, we're going to have to hire how many people? We got 8, we need 11, so we need to hire 3 people. We're going to hire 3 people, and the hiring costs are, what are the hiring costs? Hiring, training, and certifying new employee is $10,000. So this is going to be equal to 3 times 10,000 equals $30,000. Now, regular time for 11 people is going to be equal to, let's see, regular time wages and benefits cost Carlton $7,200 per employee per quarter. So we're going to have 7,200 times the number of employees, which is 11, times the number of quarters, which is 8 for this particular plan. Gives us a grand total of $633,600. Now, what are we going to pay in overtime? Well, let's see. Overtime. I guess we have to ask ourselves, when are we going to need overtime? If I have 11 employees, 11 times, times, how many hours can I get out of each employee on regular time? Looks like 480. So 11 times 480 is 5,280. Well, that would more than cover demand for Q1. It won't cover it for Q2. So let's figure out what overtime I need there. Equals 6,400 minus 5,280. I need 1,120 hours there. I got plenty there, I got plenty there, I got plenty here. Looks like I'm going to need some here. And I've got plenty for Q7 and Q8. Because 5,280 is greater than all those. So it looks like I only need overtime in Q2 and Q6. And this is equal to the 6,240 minus the 5,280, which is regular time. So it looks like I need 1,120 hours of overtime in Q2 and 960 hours of overtime in Q6. So my total overtime expense is going to be equal to 1,120 plus 960 times $20. And just to make sure everything comes out right, let's put some brackets around the numbers that we're summing. Oops. 41.6. Okay. There's my total overtime expense. So it looks like my grand total is going to be, auto sum, $705,200 would be the expense for this level strategy. Now let's look at how much undertime I have if I do this. If I do this, recall that we have regular hours, 5,280. It'd be like paying somebody a salary. That's how long that we expect them to work. So this would be regular hours. So undertime would be equal to this minus what they actually work, which is the 4,200. Now I can copy that down. Of course, I'm going to delete the ones in Q here and there. Oops, what was I forgetting? I gotta copy this little amount right down here. There we go. Now they make sense. So, the undertime for Q1 is equal to 1,080 hours. Undertime for Q3, 2,280, etc., etc. Total amount of hours that we have people sitting around doing nothing is equal to the sum of all these. 10,880 hours. Hold that thought. Oh, woe is me. When am I going to stop making typos while I do these silly videos? As you can see from Q5, the amount is not 4,400. The amount is, I'm sorry, it's not 400, it's 4,400, which brings my calculations to 6,880, which is the amount of undertime that we would have according to this plan. That, by the way, did not affect the calculations in this part right here. So that is the answer to part A.